I'm Master Sommelier Rob Bigelow, and welcome to the Columbia Crest Facebook Live. Happy summertime. It is summer, and what does that mean? It's barbecue time. Hasn't rained for a month. The barbecue's out and in full effect. Today we've got some spectacular barbecue food and wine pairings, working with these great Columbia Crest Grand Estates wines. People don't always think of barbecue and wine together, but wine is the perfect beverage for barbecue, especially the Columbia Crest Grand Estates wines, because the range of flavors that come off of the barbecue with the foods and the range of possibilities for pairing with the wines makes for some very rewarding summertime grilling and drinking out on the deck or the boat, the lake, the patio, wherever you are. So let's get right into it. We've put together some pairings here that we think are going to be spectacular with the wines. Look at the lineup here. We've got a gourmet sausage, a chicken apple sausage. Got a crab cake with sriracha mayonnaise, got a pulled pork and coleslaw sandwich, and flank steak with chimichurri. So, I mean, a lot of fun for me to figure out what goes with what, and I think you can have a lot of the same fun at home as you plan for summertime festivities. So, why don't we jump right into it? I'm gonna start here with the gourmet chicken apple sausage. Got a nice gourmet bun, and we put some stone ground mustard onto it. We like the unique earthy flavors of the stone ground mustard, and the perfect pairing for that is the Columbia Crest Grand Estates Pinot Gris. Obviously, Pinot Gris and Pinot Grigio are the same grape. Pinot Gris comes from the same family as Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Gris stands for gray, basically, is the French translation. And if you look at it in the glass, it does have not so much of a gray tint, but almost sort of a salmon tint to it. First of all of these Grand Estates wines that we're tasting today are $12. So again, Columbia Crest Grand Estates has been delivering unbelievable quality, value proposition in the glass, one of Washington's greatest examples of quality and value coming together in the glass. So before I start with the pairing, and this is something you could do at home, I'm going to smell and taste the wine to see what I've got going here and what I might pair it with. So always good to give the wine a little swirl just to release some of the spectacular aromas. And give it a sniff, because remember, about 75% of assessing a wine's aromas and taste, about 75% is in your nose, believe it or not. Oh man, that smells great. Redolent with aromas of white flowers and melons, and just if something can smell yummy and delicious, that's what this smells like. No oak on this wine, just a perfect sort of foil or background for food and wine pairing. It's not going to dominate, but it's going to certainly go with. So without further ado, actually, I should probably taste the wine too, don't you think? Why not? And reminding you again that this is our Facebook Live, and I really encourage you to send in any questions that you might have about wine generally, about wine and barbecue summertime pairings. Any question is fair game. I'll answer anything. I will. So please, if we can make this interactive and more of a dialogue, that would be spectacular while I'm enjoying this spectacular Pinot Gris and chicken apple sausage, hopefully. But let's taste the Pinot Gris just to see where it is. I always judge a wine not by the first taste that I take, because you want to prime your palate and get it ready So the first taste is not always the best one to judge the wine by. So although the first taste was pretty darn good, I'm going to taste it again just to get ready to check it out with this chicken apple sausage. So in food and wine pairing, what we're looking for are two great constituents, or a great food and a great wine that when you bring them together, they elevate each other to a greater whole, right? A is great, B is great, A plus B equals C, which should be a perfect combination of the two. So I am getting after this chicken apple sausage right here. Watch me. Wow. That's really good. There is took a big bite. Wow, that's really good. So what's going on is that there's a slight sweetness in the chicken apple sausage, slight. So that sweetness with the stone ground mustard, the little stone ground sort of seeds of the mustard, that playing off of the floral notes of the Pinot Gris. For me, it's the sweet of the sausage, the earthiness of the stone ground mustard, the sort of baseline of the bun is elevated with the light flour, melon, crisp, refreshing, sort of palate coating sensation of the wine. Wow, that's really good. Finishes long, not too heavy. Who knew? Let's go to its baseline and say, all right, wine with hot dogs. This is different. This is Columbia Crest Grand Estates Pinot Gris with a gourmet chicken apple sausage. Most people think you drink beer all the time at a barbecue. Beer's great, but beer can be super filling. Oh, wow. Check it out. Here come the questions. From Sean, I put ketchup on everything. What pairs well with ketchup? Well, Sean, I use ketchup a lot myself. Ketchup, by its nature, has a little sugar in it. It can be sweet. So the Pinot Gris might be spectacular. Syrah, which we're going to get to in a moment, would complement the full tomato flavors. It also has a little acidity, which would make Cabernet good. But I think on balance, maybe full-flavored red wines are going to pair well with ketchup. I like to make my own ketchup at home. I'll make pineapple ketchup, which goes perfectly with Syrah. It's easy to make and super rewarding and fun. Okay, well, that was a success, the first pairing. Wow, what am I going to do with all this food? So let's move on. Next up is, we have a spectacular crab cake here with sriracha mayonnaise. So, a typical pairing for seafood and crab cake, especially with some mayonnaise, something creamy, et cetera, is going to be Chardonnay. So, reminding you again that all of these Columbia Crest Grand Estates wines are $12 in the market. So what that means is that's the Pinot Gris. Let's move on to the Chardonnay. Most of the other Chardonnays in the $12 category don't deliver the quality, again, and value. I hate to keep, I'm proud to keep beating the quality value proposition, but a lot of $12 Chardonnays aren't aged in oak barrels, right? At Columbia Crest, We've got about 14,000 oak barrels that we age this Chardonnay in. We stir the lees once a week, which helps to spread the creamy goodness throughout the entire barrel. And it just makes for spectacularness. A lot of other $12 Chardonnays are going to be aged with oak chips or other adjuncts, but not in barrels. So the quality dedication here is unbelievable. But typically, creamy, rich seafood dishes like a crab cake are going to pair well with the power of Chardonnay and its, its oak experience. So again, I'm going to smell and taste the wine before I get to the pairing. Oh wow, the oak and good oak barrels bring into the aromas a whole baking spice cabinet, vanilla, cinnamon, clove, et cetera, and even sometimes some movie popcorn butter. Who doesn't like movie popcorn with butter? Everybody does. That actually would be a decent pairing for another time. It's hard to barbecue popcorn, but just smells fantastic. Not over oaked, still floral notes and some citrus notes coming through, but oh my, I'm excited. I think this is going to be very, 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 very good. So, crab cake with sriracha mayonnaise. You can, buy it at your local store or your Asian specialty store. Great combination of two food groups on their own, sriracha and mayonnaise. Those are good. Let's give it a shot. A lot of flavor coming from the crab cake. Lots and lots and lots of flavor. Sriracha has just, half a degree of piquant heat to it. The crab cake is so rich. Crab is unbelievably delicious. Obviously here in Pacific Northwest we get a lot of, spectacular crab this time of year. So a lot of flavor. The Chardonnay is sort of a broad-shouldered white wine with the oak influence and stands right up to all of the maritime goodness of the crab with the richness and slight piquant of the sriracha mayonnaise. Now, obviously in barbecuing, I'm not sure you're going to put this crab cake directly onto the grill. This is really good, so I'm having a second bite because I'm enjoying this pairing for sure. But you can probably go with some indirect heat in the barbecue on foil or something to cook the crab cake. That's the way we did it. Wow. That's really good. In food and wine pairing, there are more guidelines instead of hard and fast rules. One of those is you want to compare similar flavors. So, so big flavors in the crab richness with the mayonnaise calls for a bigger wine, like the Chardonnay that's seen smoke. It's just bigger, broader on the palate. I don't think the Pinot Gris would be as perfect a match, although I think it would still go. Let's check. Just a little bit. All right, folks, send me some questions. Facebook Live. It's not live if you're not with me, right? Obviously, I am live, but let's interact. Yeah, Chardonnay is definitely the one with the crab cake. Wow. That's really good. And who doesn't like a crab cake? And who doesn't like sriracha mayonnaise? And who doesn't like Columbia Crest Grand Estates Chardonnay? I like all of the above. So again, in food and wine pairing, guidelines, not rules. It's some science, mostly art, mostly your personal taste, right? At the end of the day, everybody's palate is different. Your palate is your palate. Some people have sweet palates, some people have savory palates. Just because I love something doesn't mean that you have to or you are going to. Your palate is your palate. What you like is what you like, and that is spectacular. Just, I mean, I'd say the first rule of enjoying wine is understanding what you enjoy. Again, just because some master sommelier says it's spectacular, but it's not spectacular to you, doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that we have different palates. And that's cool, right? People are different, wines are different, palates are different. It's great. But we can agree on the greatness of a couple things. A, barbecue. B, wine. C, wine with barbecue together during our spectacular summer months. Seafair's coming up in a couple weeks. I'm hoping to have something from this menu on the boat on the lake as the Blue Angels are making a lot of noise overhead and people are ducking for cover. Next, all right, so those are our white wine pairings. Let's move on to red wine. Again, ask me some questions. Oh, whoa, look at that. From Michael, my favorite is the Columbia Crest Red Blend. What would you pair with it? Well, something we don't have here on the table from the range of barbecue foods, I think the supple, juicy ripeness of the Columbia Crest Grand Estates Red Blend is a perfect pairing with barbecue ribs, right? You know, pork, baby back ribs are just so succulent and sweet, and you know, it takes the sauce so well. I guess what I would say is the sauce shouldn't be too hot, because hot barbecue sauce can kill red wine and exacerbate the alcohol. You want something that is mild at best. So Columbia Crest Grand Estates Red Blend with a rack of barbecue baby back ribs, mildly sauced, perfect. Maybe with, let's see, if I was at the barbecue place, the sides I would get with that would be potato salad and baked beans. Okay, and the hits keep coming. We got to taste some of the wine. What wine goes well with hotter barbecue sauce while we're on barbecue? Well, as I said, thanks Andy, by the way. As I said, super hot can magnify alcohol in red wine and sort of minimize some of the juicy, ripe goodness. So when you are with hotter barbecue sauce, believe it or not, I might recommend white wine, like the Pinot Gris, because it's going to take some of the steam. It's going to minimize the heat, right? We have a guideline in food and wine pairing that sweet beats heat. So this Pinot Gris does have a small degree of sweetness. We don't have a Riesling on the table. Riesling might help with that, but I'd go Pinot Gris with the heat. Okay, moving on to our pulled pork sandwich with coleslaw, and with that we are going to enjoy the Columbia Crest Grand Estates Syrah. Syrah is one of the grapes that, you know, almost all grapes, most grapes thrive unbelievably in the spectacular growing conditions of the Columbia Valley of Washington State. Probably with the exception of Pinot Noir, which, you know, prefers the cooler maritime climate of the Willamette Valley in Oregon. Almost every grape thrives, but one that thrives in particular in those, you know, hot during the day, cool at night, sandy soil conditions is Syrah. Might be my favorite Washington grape. Just delicious, ripe, yummy. So it should go perfectly with this pulled pork barbecue sandwich. Now, the role of the coleslaw on the pulled pork sandwich is it adds a little acidity and sort of counterpoint to the sweet richness of the pulled pork. So let me get after this. I broke my own rule there. I didn't taste the wine first because I was so anxious to get after the pulled pork. But it has a slight sweetness, the pulled pork, offset by the vinegary nature, not vinegary, but less sweet profile of the coleslaw. Because I have another question that I'll get to as soon as oh wow, that's really good. So juicy, yummy. It's got an acidic frame to it. Meaning, by acidity I mean it's rich and juicy, but the acid, which you'll feel on the sides of your tongue, cleans up your palate afterward. It doesn't sit on your palate. By palate I mean your tongue, basically. It doesn't sit on your palate like a heavy weight. It sort of cleans up everything and makes you excited to have another bite, which I am excited to have another bite and sip. Oh, wow. That's perfect. Again, everybody would drink beer with this, not me. That's great. Finishes long, cleans up. That's a spectacular barbecue and wine meal I'm enjoying here today. And you can do same for sure. Oh, wow. Quality wines. You can judge a quality wine by the length of finish, which basically means how long you can continue to taste, how long the taste stays in your mouth. And those two together, the taste is lingering for a long, long time, really perfectly in my mouth. Okay. This one's from Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay. How are you? Thanks for joining us this morning. Good to see you. Lindsay asks, are there any wines that don't work at a barbecue? That's a great question. I don't think so, because the breadth of the barbecue menu, right? Barbecue is a very broad term. What does barbecue mean? I guess technically things you're going to cook on a grill of some sort, but it's also a general term for kind of a gathering. Let's have a barbecue. That means people are going to come over and going to be on the deck or whatever. So really there's no wine that doesn't work at a barbecue, because you can find something to pair it with, pair any wine with at any time. I mean, I don't know how much port I would drink at a barbecue, right? Because it's fortified and strong and sweet, and too much port could lead to a headache the next day for sure. But there's something for every wine at a barbecue, for sure. Whether you're just enjoying some wine to begin with, some rosé or Pinot Gris or Chardonnay, or finding something to pair with the great breadth of the barbecue menu. I love summer. Weather's great, we're barbecuing, we're out on the deck, we're being social, we're enjoying the Columbia Crest Grand Estates wines. We live in Washington State. I mean, what could be better? Life is good. Okay, so now for the, we move into kind of the red meat protein spectrum of pairing. Obviously, there's a lot of, flank steak. Steaks are done on the grill in barbecue season. That's, the highlight for many. I like it all. So in front of me, I have a marinated flank steak with chimichurri sauce. Chimichurri is the Argentinian sauce. It's sort of their pesto, I guess, but it's mainly parsley and some white wine vinegar. So it's got the rich greenness of the parsley, some of the bite of the vinegar. There's a little garlic in it. It's a great condiment to put over something like flank steak. So with that, I'm going to enjoy the Columbia Crest Grand Estates Cabernet Sauvignon. Again, these Grand Estate wines are, I can't mention it enough that the quality value proposition that these wines deliver is unbelievable. I'm a master sommelier. If you tasted me blind on these wines, because we do a lot of blind tasting as master sommeliers, smell and taste something, try and figure out what it is, I would think that these were $25 or $30 bottles of wine. They are made with such meticulous attention to quality and detail that, put these against some $30 bottles from California, it's no contest. We win. Washington wins. Columbia Crest Grand Estates wins. All right, but I'm about to win with this flank steak and chimichurri and the Cabernet Sauvignon. So let's check it out first. Oh, wow. Aromas of, or maybe, I won't say it in master sommelier talk. Smells like dark fruits, blackberry, black plum, ripe blackberry, black plum. Some of that baking cabinet comes through from the oak treatment. Most wines like oak. All red wines like to be aged in oak. It's like a condiment, brings out the flavor. Not all white wines love to be aged in oak. Chardonnay for sure, but Pinot Gris, Riesling, et cetera, like to be on their own. But this just smells broad-shouldered, big, spectacular. Let's taste it to confirm. Okay, the black fruits come through, but there is also a nice sort of clean frame of acid, and finishes long, cleans up the palate, and makes me ready to now get after some flank steak and chimichurri. Here we go. Wow. Chimichurri is full of flavor, as is the marinade on the flank steak. A lot of flavor there. A basic of food and wine pairing is you want them to come together for a greater whole. You don't want them to clash in your mouth, right? You don't want them to be at odds. Let me do that again. Well, the hits keep coming question-wise. I'll get to Joanne's question in a moment. Let me just work through another bite of this. The vinegar note and the chimichurri and the overt richness and ripeness and, dare I say, delicious yumminess of the Cabernet, they're both big and full flavored. It's like Clash of the Titans, but it's not a clash. It's more like Marriage of the Titans. They come together so beautifully. Wow. Remember too, when you're doing food and wine pairing, or when you're enjoying wine with your dinner, and I'm guilty of this all the time, I'll eat, bite, and then I'll take a break, and then I'll drink some wine. To really enjoy food and wine pairings to their fullest, take a bite of the food, chew it a little bit, put some of the wine into your mouth so you can taste them together. So it's, again, A plus B equals C, not A and B, A and B. Let's get to John's question here, which is, Joanne. I'm sorry, Joanne. Thanks for getting with us. Which wine do you suggest for barbecue pizza? Great question. It depends what's on the barbecue pizza, right? The dough is a neutral foil. If I was having, smoked salmon and goat cheese, I'd probably go with Sauvignon Blanc. If I was having, rib tips or something like that, to our earlier point, I'd have the Columbia Crest Grand Estates Red Blend. Like anything, it just depends what the condiments are, what the flavors are. You know, red wine can go with fish. White wine can go with meat. Again, it just depends. If you've got big, full-flavored red wine type things, go with red wine. More delicate flavors, go with whites. And lastly, here's one from Kate. Hi, Kate. Thanks for joining us. And remember, you guys out there in Columbia Crest Facebook Live land voted for this segment. So we brought this to you per your request. So we'll be asking you for more of those. But Kate asks, do you ever chill the red wine if it's hot out? Certainly. Right? If it's 90 degrees out, you don't want to be serving red wine at room temp or at deck temp, I guess I would say. So a light chill on red wines is perfect. The more lighter bodied a red wine is, the more you could chill it. The heavier bodied, like the Cab or the Syrah, the bigger, you can put those just lightly atop some ice just to keep them from not being hot. Right? Perfect serving temperature for red wines is, 68 to 72 degrees. So just try and keep it there, and also with a little chill, it can be unbelievable. So, wow, what a great meal I've had this morning. I've enjoyed talking to you about the Columbia Crest Grand Estates wines and barbecue. Thanks for all the great questions. If we didn't get to your question, please keep them coming, and we'll answer them on the off the Facebook Live sort of answer section. There will be more of these in the future. We'll ask for your vote and your feedback. And thank you so much for joining me this morning. Have a great barbecue season. Have a great summer. And I look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Cheers.